mocked, forgotten, despised. They said she was cursed, not their class, not good enough. But what they didn't know was that, buried inside her was a miracle waiting to break free. This is her story. The aroma of burnt coffee wafted through the cramped one-bedroom flat that Mira had painstakingly decorated, with second-hand furniture and thrift store finds. The paint on the walls was peeling, a reminder of her hurried escape from her past life, yet she managed to fill the space with photos of sunsets she had taken on her phone. They whispered to her of beauty, hope, and possibilities. She stood by the window, staring at the bustling street below, her heart a battlefield of emotions. Her life had become a hollow shell since the divorce. It wasn't just the loss of her husband, Raj, it was the torment from her in-laws and the judgment plastered across the faces of their community that had left deep scars on her spirit. The whispers echoed in her mind, the endless chatter about her inability to conceive, the unmistakable glances filled with pity and disdain. It was too much to bear, even for someone who had thought herself resilient. Mira had initially considered returning to her parents, a thought that swiftly morphed into dread. The idea of facing their sorrowful glares made her recoil. They had sacrificed so much for her, only to see their daughter cast aside like an unwanted toy. No, she thought firmly, she couldn't bring that kind of shame upon them. So she forged her own path, renting the tiny flat near the outskirts of town, and took on a job at a local cafe. It wasn't much, minimum wage and long hours, but it was a starting point. She had a plan, she had to begin again. Each morning, she found herself rising with the sun, performing her rituals of quiet reflection and prayer. The small, humble church at the end of her street had become her second home. She would sit in the back pew, eyes closed, listening to the comforting sound of the choir and allowing their hymns to wrap around her like a warm embrace. There, she could shed the weight of her past, if only for a moment. It was a sanctuary amidst the chaos of her life. One fateful evening, after a grueling day of work, Mira was returning home. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows as she trudged along the pavement. Her exhaustion had been so thick it felt like a weight pressing on her chest, dimming her usual optimism. Just as she was about to cross the street, she noticed a figure leaning casually against a lamppost. With his disheveled hair and modest clothing, he looked ordinary, but there was something arresting about his gaze. It was deep, piercing, and yet gentle, an enigma masked beneath the guise of a regular man. "Excuse me," he said, with an accent that hinted at sophistication far exceeding his aesthetic. "I couldn't help but notice you seem lost. Can I help in any way?" Mira paused, taken aback. I'm fine. Just heading home." He chuckled softly, a sound that felt oddly familiar to her, like a distant memory. "That's what everyone says, isn't it? But I can see it in your eyes. There's more to your story." She looked at him skeptically. "And you are? Call me Aman," he replied with a smile that radiated warmth. "I'm new in town and just trying to make friends." An inexplicable urge compelled her to confide in him. They began to talk, their conversation flowing effortlessly. She spoke of her struggles with raw honesty, feeling strangely safe in his presence. Aman listened intently, offering encouragement without judgment. With each word shared, a flicker of hope ignited within her heart. As days turned into weeks, their casual meetings became the highlight of her life. They would stroll through the park, sharing stories and laughs, and Aman would tease her about her clumsiness. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, Mira felt the tendrils of joy creeping back into her soul. But just as they began to build something beautiful, her past crashed in like a storm. One harsh evening at work, a few of her old acquaintances strolled into the cafe, laughter echoing around them. Mira recognized the sharp, mocking tones of her past, and for a moment, she felt paralyzed. "Aren't you supposed to be at home, Mira? Or has even your cooking skills failed you?" One of them jeered, earning a chorus of laughter. The humiliation struck deep, spreading like wildfire within her. She rushed to the back, tears blurring her vision. Aman, having watched the scene unfold, entered the kitchen minutes later. His expression was a blend of concern and determination. "Mira, look at me," he said, his voice steady. "You are far more than what they say. You define your worth, no one else." Don't let their bitterness take away your light. In his presence, she felt a flicker of courage. But they're right. I couldn't give my husband children, and that led to my divorce. I didn't fulfill my role as a wife. He stepped closer, his eyes fierce. None of that defines who you are. Life doesn't end because of one chapter. You have the power to write your own story, and it starts with believing in yourself. Mira took a deep breath, the storm swirling within finally calming, if only just a little. For the first time, she felt a shift, a resolve to confront her insecurities and face her future head-on. Yet, as the days went by, Amon's behavior became more confounding. He would disappear without explanation, returning with a whirlwind of distractions. Mira could feel her heart tugging in confusion, but he always had the most charming excuses or captivating stories that made her forget her worries. One afternoon, Amon invited her to join him on a modest picnic. They sat on a grassy hill, the sun casting a golden glow around them. As they talked, she couldn't shake the nagging feeling that he was hiding something important. "Amon, can I ask you something?" she began cautiously. "Why do you seem different sometimes? Like you're living in two worlds?" He hesitated, the light in his eyes dimming slightly. "Mira, sometimes people carry burdens that you can't see." Before he could finish, a sleek black car rolled down the road, and Amon seemed to tense. The driver glanced out, a look of familiarity washing over his face, causing Amon to shift uncomfortably. "Is everything okay?" she asked, noticing the shift in his demeanor. His expression hardened, and the warmth that had once surrounded him momentarily disappeared. "I need to go. I'll be back," he said, a hint of urgency in his voice. But he didn't return that night. Days turned into weeks, and while she still visited the church and prayed for guidance amidst her good feelings, her heart ached for Amon. The raw connection they had forged weighed heavily on her mind. It was then that she discovered the truth. A social media post about a charity event featuring Amon. His name was everywhere, whispered in the circles she had once belonged to. Amon was not just the gentle stranger, he was a billionaire philanthropist known for his charitable work. The realization hit like a tidal wave. Anger and confusion washed over her. How could he have hidden such a significant part of himself? Did he pity her all along? Fueled by a whirlwind of emotions, she pulled on her coat and marched toward the grand hall where the event was held. She needed answers, she needed to confront him. The flickering lights and laughter of the wealthy crowd cast a stark contrast to her somber mood. As she stepped inside, she felt like an intruder in a world she once aspired to be part of. Yet, she kept her chin lifted, her heart pounding in her chest. She scanned the crowd, searching for the familiar face that had momentarily taken her breath away. "Mira." A voice called her attention, and she turned to see Amon striding toward her, a rare vulnerability evident in his eyes. "You came. Is this a game, Amon? Were you just trying to play the role of the Good Samaritan?" Her voice was laced with hurt and anger. His expression shifted from surprise to understanding. "No, it's not like that. I never meant to keep it from you. I wanted to make sure you saw me, not my status. It's complicated." "Complicated?" she echoed, her mind racing. "You don't get to just shrug this off. You built a connection, and then you disappeared into a world I can't reach." Amon took a step closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "I was afraid you'd see me differently. I thought we were building something real despite the shadows of our pasts." The sincerity in his voice began to thaw the ice around her heart. "But why stay hidden?" "Because in this world," he admitted, "the spotlight can be blinding. The moment people know who I truly am, it's not my worth they see, it's the wealth. And I didn't want you to see me like that. I wanted you to see me for all that I am." Torn between the raw emotion he evoked and the reality of what he represented, she felt her defenses start to waver. "I don't know if I can trust this version of you, Amon. What if you're just looking for someone to save?" He reached for her hands, the warmth of his touch igniting something in her that she thought had long been extinguished. "I am not here to save you. You've already saved yourself. I admire your strength more than you realize. Let me be part of your new journey, Mira. With every step you take, I want to walk beside you, not as a wealthy benefactor, but as a true partner." The sincerity in his voice broke through her armor, and for the first time in months, Mira found clarity emerging from the shadows. "You have to promise me, though, no more secrets, I promise," he said solemnly. "Let's build something real, together." As their eyes locked, a tentative hope bloomed between them. The journey ahead would undoubtedly be complex and steeped with challenges, but perhaps they could navigate this together. It wasn't just about rising from the ashes of her past. It was about discovering beauty in collaboration, in love, and in embracing the complexities of life. For the first time, Mira felt a spark of rebirth, a chance to redefine her narrative, not just as a woman marked by her failures, but as a warrior, ready to forge ahead into the light. For the first time, Mira felt a spark of rebirth, a chance to redefine her narrative, not just as a woman marked by her failures.